those experiences and the experiences that I continue to have in the industry just make me mindful of the space that I'm creating and co-creating with others in the industry to make sure that people of color feel welcome. Not just Black women and Black men, but people of color in general, that they feel welcome and they always have a seat at my table.
Welcome to the Italian Wine Podcast. I'm Cynthia Chaplin, and this is Voices. Every Wednesday, I will be sharing conversations with international wine industry professionals, discussing issues in diversity, equity, and inclusion through their personal experiences working in the field of wine. If you enjoy the show, please subscribe and rate our show wherever you get your pods. Hello, and welcome to Voices. This is me, Cynthia Chaplin, and today I am so delighted to have Shayla Varnado with me on Voices. She is the founder of Black Girls Wine Society and the COO of the Black Girls Social Club. She is also the founder of ALYAHS, digital marketing agency, a very diverse team of women who specialize in multicultural marketing. So this has been a bit of a journey to get this interview to happen. So Shayla, thank you so much. I'm really, really pleased that we could make this happen and get this going today. So welcome.
Thank you. Listen, thank you for having me. I love doing wine podcasts and talking to other great people. I always say the best people are wine lovers. So I'm a pleasure to make your acquaintance.
Absolutely true. I 100% agree. So I know you're based in Virginia and you went to Old Dominion University and you got a Bachelor of Science degree in fashion and marketing. So not exactly like the traditional route into wine. So what made you get out of the corporate life and how did you get into wine? This is always an interesting little story.
This usually is. So I graduated from college and I couldn't find a job in fashion and I landed in the insurance industry. So throughout my look, it was awful. We won't even rehash that experience, that decade. But what I did acquire in my corporate career was some really great friends. And I feel like those memes that are like, when you're in corporate, you'll have a friend that's like 50 and a friend that's like 40. That was me. And they turned out to be my really great friends. And they're the ones who introduced me to wine. So we would be getting together and they'd be like, hey, Shayla, one of my girlfriends would be like, can you go by the grocery store and pick up a Pinot Grigio? Now, at the time, I couldn't even pronounce it, right? Like I was just like 23, fresh out of college and like made these great older friends. And so it was just like, what? Pick up what now, girl? And so that really kind of began my journey. And then the more I drank it, the more curious I was. And it really was like the nerd in me, because I would go down the wine aisle and be like, there is a lot here. Like there has to be a process involved, right? And so I kind of started exploring. And that's kind of that's how it all started.
But that's the best story. I think, yeah, having a group of friends that are, all over the place, you've got all this different input coming at you. That's the best way to go. So, and my wine friends I've been acquiring them like little vintage pieces over the years. They are still my best friends. So I completely get that. It's interesting because I know I'm a serial stalker, so I have stalked you.
No, listen, you were very prepared. Very prepared.
And you've said over time you realized that none of your friends were into wine the way that you were. And when you went to wine events, you would be like one of 5 Black people walking around in a sea of everybody else, which I love that image. That's a direct quote from something you said. I love that image. I have been part of that sea, so I know what you're talking about. How did these two experiences shape your view of the wine sector? Like friends who weren't into wine and then going to wine events and there was no one like you there.
My friends that aren't into wine, I just have kind of thought of it like wine becomes a hobby and a lifestyle, and one thing I learned the more I explored the wine industry was that, okay, you really got to be into this, because it's not only like a financial commitment of exploration, but there's also like, you gotta there has to be a level of nerd. Like, you got to be into it. Like, I care when a winemaker is like, this is what we do. This is what we do to the grapes. This is what I did differently in the winemaking process. Like, I'm fascinated by that. And I feel like winemakers are geniuses, right? And like, some people just aren't into that. So that's what kind of led me into like exploring. And then it's interesting because I was just at an event last year, and I will have people comment on my post. I got a lot of comments on a post I made, or something I said in another interview about that. And they were like, oh, the wine industry has gotten better. And it's like, I don't know where you're located, but no, it hasn't. I can't speak for your experience. Maybe you're in one of our cities here in the US that has a larger Black population. That could be a thing. But in Virginia, where we have over 300 wineries, it is highly likely, 9 out of 10 times, that if you walk into a wine event here in this state, you're going to be one of five in a sea of hundreds of other wine lovers. It just made me want to create that safe space for people who desire to learn more, for people who may not feel comfortable in that room, right? That's part of what made me start my show. So that there could be someone relatable providing relatable references, right? You and I talked about WSET, and while I have my level 2, I don't often use a lot of the words or descriptors because I want it to be relatable. I want it to be a conversation that people can really connect with. And so, yeah, it just is those experiences, and the experiences that I continue to have in the industry just make me mindful of the space that I'm creating and co-creating with others in the industry to make sure that people of color feel welcome. Not just Black women and Black men, but people of color in general, that they feel welcome and they always have a seat at my table.
I am so grateful for you and people like you that I've met, in the past 4 years that I've been doing this podcast, because I'm a lot older than you. I've been in the wine industry longer than you. uh, it is better now, diversity wise, but that level of betterness is just so tiny. At least you're one of five. Back in my day, you were one of none. So, back in my day, actually, I was one of five women of any kind of women. Uh, so I understand that feeling, even though my obviously my privilege is very, very different, and I am so on board with everything you're saying in terms of WSET. We talked about this a little bit before we turned on the microphone. I am a WSET educator. I hold WSET certificates myself. I am, very respectful of what they do and how useful they are globally. But oh my word, we have got to change this discourse. It is just not useful. Um, for new people coming into the industry, and especially if we want to remain global. We have so many young people, especially young women, people of color all over the world, coming into the wine industry, who are very put off by that language and intimidated by that language. So I love what you're doing. This is how I found you, because I dive deep into finding cool people who
Thank
are
you.
charming and intelligent and passionate the way that I am about getting people in. So let's talk about this. You founded Black Girls Wine Society in 2016, and the goal was to build a community for women of color united by their love of wine. I love this. So tell me how it got started and how you promoted it and how you grew it.
Yeah. So Black Girls Wine, just my lifestyle platform, is 2016. And then the society was founded in 2019. So that 3 year period that I spent really building the brand, building the community, is how I launched it. I was very strategic at that point. By 2019, I was going live on Facebook and Instagram, and then eventually added in YouTube. And so the more that my platform grew, the more women found out, the more people found out about it. And leading up to 2019, between 2016 and 2019, I hosted a ton of wine events across the country, mostly East Coast. yeah, East Coast. So we did DC, we did Atlanta, we did Charlotte, we did Raleigh. I was up and down the East Coast hosting events leading up to the society. And I wanted this place where, Black women could come together and feel excited and feel safe. And then also, the interesting thing is there's so many communal references, even that relate to wine, that really help with that building of understanding and wine knowledge, right? That I knew would be a great opportunity to help more women expand their palates. So that's kind of look, that's how it got there. And then
It's so
eventually,
cool.
uh,
It's so
yeah,
cool. I love the idea of creating a place of safety. I have four daughters myself who are all in their 20s and early 30s, and creating a place of safety for women, and particularly women of color and BIPOC women everywhere, is so important because we are overlooked. It can be very intimidating, even for me, in certain times after all this time in the wine industry. I still walk into a room that's all men, and and people look at you and they look you up and down, and often you get the what sort of dismissive
yep,
feeling.
yep. They look at you, and it's almost like they ignore that you're
Yep,
even there, and you're like, oh,
exactly.
okay.
So I like the fact that you called it a safe space. I think that's really important for any kind of learning. We need people to learn in a place where they feel safe and comfortable. So that's really important. And then in 2018, you founded Black Girls Wine Retreat, which this sounds like so much fun already. I don't even know what happened at that, but I already want to go. So tell us about that idea. How many people came? Where did you go? What did you taste? What did you do? What was it sounds like wine camp. I want to go to this.
That's essentially what it is. I've been hosting those. This is actually the first year I will not have done it in a while. I had two last year. And so the wine retreats are a lot of fun. It really is just a weekend of wine. You need to be a wine lover if you ever attend one of my retreats. Like, you can't be anything else because that's all we do. We drink all weekend. But it is in a structured like setting. And so I bring in a special guest all weekend who teach different things. And then we do other cool stuff too. So like, I've had a cigar and wine pairing at every retreat. I do a 5 to 7 course meal with wine pairings. And I partner with different Black chefs, depending on where I am, to execute on that experience. And we do different courses, or I shouldn't say courses, but I guess they're mini courses, right? Throughout the day, sessions that just kind of explore different aspects of wine. Every retreat is different in what wines are explored and how they're explored. Last year, I took my retreat on the road to Charlottesville. So we explored the Charlottesville wine region, Monticello wine region here in Virginia, and that was a ton of fun. Like, we just went from winery to winery, and it was a good time. Usually they've been hosted in Richmond, though, my hometown, and everybody's stationary, and we just bring the guests in and rotate them in. So it's fun. It's a fun week. I have a good time. Now the crazy thing is I have a good time hosting it. Like, I like seeing other people glow as they explore wine and have fun, because I usually don't do a lot of drinking at them because I gotta, you know, orchestrate it.
Well, it's interesting, and we talk a lot in some of the places where I work in Italy about spreading the wine joy, and it sounds like that is exactly what you're doing. So I am completely on board with that feeling. I know exactly what you mean about seeing someone's face light up, have that light bulb moment, or just taste something they really love and they think, I'm going to go and buy this right now. I can't wait to have more of it. So it is being a host, being an educator, being a presenter at a master class or things like that. You really do get to see people's faces. And I think working in wine, I do a lot of writing, which is really solitary, but those moments when you are face to face with people who are really engaged are the best moments. So unfortunately, like everything else, in the world these days, there's a part of the story that goes, and then COVID. So your story is, pandemic hit and you had to pivot away from in-person events like all the rest of us. Uh, so, how did you adapt? What was the result of going online? Because I know you went online, and what happened?
Yeah, so COVID hit. It's funny because we didn't have a retreat in 2020, but our 2021 attendance was through the roof. Like we just went ahead and went outside, and I was pregnant at the 2021 retreat. um, but we went ahead and had it because I was like, I know people miss being outside, but in 2020 we transitioned the membership to 100% online. Some of our chapters were still meeting in 2020. Like the ladies were just craving that connection. And so, they were really careful, really safe. We never had any incidences of like COVID being spread. But the online transition was huge. We launched our virtual membership, and that's really when membership skyrocketed because people were looking for community. So it went well. Look.
That's part of your story that I really liked when I was digging deep into your background, because so many people felt depressed and distressed when they had to move online. I had to segue from teaching university introduction to Italian wine from in person to online. And I loved the challenge of it. We were talking about tech beforehand, and having to learn how to manage all the tech and then teach my Italian colleagues who were really against it was fun. But being able to stay in touch with my young students, who are the most vibrant of all my clients, was great fun. So I understand, and yours really blew up. I mean, you suddenly discovered a reach across the country that you didn't really have before.
Yeah, and it's interesting because COVID was good in that way, but then it also really impacted us when everybody went back outside. Because then people were like, "Okay, I'm sick of being online. I'm ready to get off." So we did see that dip in membership and or a dip in signups, I should say, because people wanted to get back out with their family and friends. But COVID was an unfortunate, I guess blessing.
Well,
Look,
that's
it
it.
was
I think,
unfortunate that it was happening, but it
yeah.
was great for the organization and the reach and the community to be able to provide that safe space, especially in light of everything happening here in America, that is only amplified and escalated at this point, but it
Well,
was
I
good.
think you navigated it particularly well. It was one of those unforeseen, unprecedented things that books will be written about, and you navigated it well. And then you moved on. You shut down Black Girls Wine in 2022, but you're the CEO of Black Girls Social Club. So the mission for this is to create that same safe space for Black women and change the narrative about how Black women interact with each other. You are a modern day social club, like determined to bring back the art of face to face communication. So you've gone like 360 from before COVID to after, um, trying to get people off their phones and off the internet, and you're tackling mental health, physical and emotional issues as a community, and you're trying to impact the lives of Black women through this really um, elevated social interaction. So tell us more about the club, and how does it sit alongside what you were doing with Black Girls Wine? What are you doing to drive this mission forward? Because I think it's such an important one.
Yeah, thank you. So I look, I'm like, where do I start? So when a friend of mine, I've known her for, oh gosh, how old am I? I guess it's been almost 20, over 25 years. And when she launched Black Girl Social Club, I thought it was really cool. At the time, I was still running the society, and we were building alongside each other. We were building together. And so now being COO at her company, I gotta tell you, I find so much joy in that in my everyday, just knowing that this space is safe and being created. And my role as COO is I am helping her lay the foundation operationally. She was ready to hit the reset button, and she brought me on because she saw what I did with the society. And for me, it is really just continuing that mission. While it's not a wine focused organization, it is the focus is kind of very different than Black Girls Wine Society, but also the same. Because mine was like the same, but with wine. So I am definitely, look, I'm trying to get some tastings in there. Like, we need to do tastings, guys. Um,
Everything is better with
Everything's
wine.
better with wine. Like, we just need to add wine into the conversation. So I'm trying to add some wine in there. But yeah, it's allowing me to kind of just continue to create, to fulfill my purpose in creating safe spaces, which has been really nice, and it doesn't interfere with like Black Rose Wine and just my mission and vision for that. So I'm kind of working them, simultaneously now, and just really enjoying the community there. And I actually, it's funny because, see, you said in person, but I have a thing about making sure that people can connect no matter where they are. Um, and so we're actually pulling together and launching a virtual membership in the next 30 to 60 days, getting a chapter leader there, because there are areas where like a chapter may or may not make sense. Like, depending on where you are in this country. And so it might be, it's still beneficial for you to be able to log on to a virtual community. So we are working on that as well.
I love the fact that you are combining your love for wine, creating a safe space for Black women there, now working with your friend with the Black Girls Social Club, and having this interactive sort of health and wellness based community that you're growing. And I know that your day job before all of this was ALYAHS, which was your all female digital marketing agency. You created all this impactful marketing campaigns to drive businesses and build more community. You are such a community person, makes me very happy. So
I am.
you said one time when you walk into a wine store, do you ever see Black people up on the wall? Do you ever see them in the ads? When's the last time you went to a wine festival? Did you see more than 20 Black people there? I don't care if there were 500 people, you never see more than 20. And it's because it's not marketed. And I never see anything about wine festivals in Essence or Ebony magazines that I read. So how am I going to find anything? This is one of the best quotes because I feel your frustration in it, but also, you have managed to figure out a way to take your frustration and turn it into marketing and communication. So I'm really interesting. I know this isn't something you're doing on a daily basis anymore, but it's so powerful. So, how do you think wineries and the wine industry in general could engage better with the Black community, with Black women, with young women, with people coming in? I know this is something you were looking at with ALYAHS, and you still do when it arises. What would you like to see happen to improve this problem?
Yeah. Well, first of all, call me. I'm definitely open for consultations if a winery needs help with this. But some of the things that would really help improve this problem, like now we do have some very Black or African American centered wine experiences. The Two Up, Two Down Festival, hosted by Eniverse in Charlottesville. The homecoming event is hosted here in Virginia at a Black owned resort. The woman who used to be, I think, the CEO of BET hosted. So there are like some anchored events, but they're being hosted by Black people. Outside of that, the wine industry as a whole, I think what they need to figure, or what they need to be thinking about top of mind to be more inclusive, is one, bring on somebody to your team, whether it's in a consultant basis. It doesn't have to be me. There's plenty of Black people in this industry. And ask about what's trending, ask about what is happening, and then make it relative to the community. So for example, one thing I always say is I see a lot of bluegrass concerts on the calendars for wineries.
That's something we don't
um
see in Italy for sure.
listen, Italians are not even coming out for these bluegrass concerts. So I don't know why y'all think Black people want to be there too. So, and that's the thing. Like, it's just like, come up with more relative, like a lot of Black people, especially who are in the, now I'm gonna turn into a marketing nerd. So when you look at the audience, right, and the audience that has the money to spend, the disposable income on wine, the most disposable income in this country are people who are in the LGBTQ community. These are facts. I just recently read a marketing book, so I'm telling you facts that are, and then single women, specifically single Black women, spend the most money, right? And so when you think about those three audiences, what are they into? What do they want to be a part of? What tickets are they already buying online? And how can you bring that event to your winery? Or how can you take your wine to that event? Because that's what's going to help increase the amount of wine consumption in younger consumers. That's what's going to help increase the amount of wine consumption and engagement with African American consumers. Like, there's a million R&B artists. Host an R&B concert. Feature a local, up and coming local artist that has a really great and strong following. There you go, right there, right? Like, it's just that kind of stuff. It's like thinking outside of your own world. You created this wine, and I know you only have your worldview. So you got to step outside of that to plan something to expand your audience and your reach. And ultimately, this impacts your bottom line. Black people spend more money on alcohol than anybody else in this country. So, like, you're missing a huge market.
Yeah, I love you. You are singing my song so much, and it's not only in the U.S., but I see in in Africa, in Kenya, in other countries, where young Black women, for the first time in history, have their own disposable income. They're not married. They have a job. They don't have kids. They're interested in wine, and they're curious, and they have money, and they want to spend money. The same is happening in Asia. Young Asian women, for the first time, have their own money. So you're so right. The wineries need to pay attention. I love this idea of hiring a trending consultant. That's very interesting to me. I I didn't put this in my little notes to you that I sent before this, so I'm just going to throw it out there. It's a curveball, but we're all very well aware of the new administration in the U.S. I'm American. I haven't lived in the USA for 34 years, but I am still American. And we've got a new administration that is trying to crush every DEI, you know, activity that is going on. Are you seeing that? Are you feeling that? How is that impacting what you do and what you want to do?
Well, I think it definitely impacts what I do. I notice just some wine events that have been happening even locally that I used to get an invite to that I didn't get an invite to this year. Like, it happened as recently
Wow.
as last month or so, and just different stuff like that. And so seeing that kind of stuff it's discouraging, honestly. I'm going to say I held my breath, but I would have loved for my expectations to have been met of the wine industry turning the other cheek, so to speak, and continuing on the path to being more inclusive, to being more thought leader think with a little more thought leadership in making the decisions that are being made. I mean, it impacts people who are going to be hired in workplaces at a corporate level and that kind of thing. And I think it's unfortunate because, again, we look at sales and wine across the industry. They've never been super high for diverse communities. And when you think about just that potential untapped dollar, I don't think it's a wise business decision either. And so my hope is that more people in this industry continue to push the narrative forward that it is wine is better when it's inclusive, and there are people in various spaces from all around the world, not just white men, but having that everybody's voice at the table. It just brings a different level of experience, and it makes wine more enjoyable. So when you allow this current administration's decisions on DEI to impact how you do business, I mean, it's going to overall impact not even just your bottom line, but also your customer experience, right? And I think that's the unfortunate part, and that's what's missing.
Yeah, it's distressing and it's discouraging. And as you said, wine was created to be shared. That's why it was created, historically, traditionally, over thousands of years. And to see doors starting to shut just breaks my heart. I've spent years trying to push back, and I'll continue, as I know you will. But it's discouraging and it's distressing. So I know that Black Girls Wine is really your heart, where you really got going. That's when your face lights up when we talk about it. So I'm going to move on to a happy thing. You've said you want to tell the story of what it looks like when people of color incorporate wine into their life experience, which I think is an awesome concept. I love that. And I know you want to make people feel more comfortable and more safe, as we've talked about. So fill us in on how you are sort of climbing up this huge mountain to accomplish this mission.
Yeah, right now my focus has been to continue with creating content, going live, and having this really engaged community on Wednesdays. Letting people ask me questions, and then offering also as much information as I can. um, Look, I sometimes can't always remember everything off the top of my head that I had to study to get my levels at W2, but I keep my books next to me so that I can answer questions. Look, yes, yes. I'm like, my recording setup is over here, and then all of my wine books are over here on the side of my desk. So it's always like, oh, I need to pull some books. So I try to like provide reference when I can, and just also I really want to kind of start a series of like, I haven't quite figured out the name of it, but the direction and the point of it is it's everyday wine, like my everyday like life. Like I'm drinking about, I tend to pour a glass when I'm cooking. I have a toddler at home, so I don't drink that much. But when I'm cooking, I tend to pour a glass and kind of start to tell that story. And, this is why I'm choosing this wine. This is what I have for dinner. And this is what I'm making for dinner. So I kind of want to build a little more into that. And then I don't know, honestly, Cynthia, I have dreams of relaunching the society one day and it being 100% virtual. It will be 100% online community. But just relaunching it and just creating that engagement in that safe space again. I know it's needed and I really feel it, especially with our current administration. You're so lucky you're out of here.
No, we're about to be slaughtered by this tariff thing, but I'm not going to go into that. So,
Yeah, we'll talk about that when we get done. But yeah, so it's I feel the need for the community, and so my goal is to continue to create content that people can connect with. Eventually get back to hosting events when people want it. And are able to, I'm trying to be mindful of where the community is, where the country is. But yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. Trying to create as much happiness and joy and bring that to the wine experience and let people see how easy it is to just incorporate it in your life and just have this moment just for you where you get to try something new. It's exploration on an everyday level and it's good for your brain, it's good for your body, it's good for your mood, it's good for
and you don't
everything.
even have to leave the comfort of your sofa to go exploring, which is really
Yes, like I can go to Spain, literally. That might be where I go this evening. Look, I'm like have some grilled trip I'm gonna enjoy, right? So like getting in the habit of sharing more of that. And I do a lot of it in my stories. I do a lot of it in my Instagram and Facebook stories.
well. I have to
Um
say, for everybody who's listening, your Instagram handle is Black Girls Wine. It is it you have really brought a lot of happiness into my day. It's the end of my day here, so I love seeing how really really dedicated and passionate you are. Your face lights up when you talk about it. I'm an old white girl, but I would still love to get involved and be an ally and support and help in any way I can, because I think what you're doing is important. Also, in terms of what's happening in the US right now and the atmosphere, but I think also for the future of wine, regardless of politics, getting young people fired up and excited and comfortable and happy, learning about wine, tasting wine, not being intimidated is so important to the future of our entire sector, which is something we really care about. So I cannot thank you enough for coming on Voices today and talking to me and being so kind and open. I'm really glad I got to speak to you today. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. I love having these conversations. I'm a people person, so I enjoy connecting with other wine lovers, and it's been a joy. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening, and remember to tune in next Wednesday when I'll be chatting with another fascinating guest. Italian Wine Podcast is among the leading wine podcasts in the world and the only one with a daily show. Tune in every day and discover all our different shows. You can find us at ItalianWinePodcast.com, SoundCloud, Spotify, Himalaya, or wherever you get your pods.